Hello and welcome to the Amateur Skeptics Podcast, Podcast 61. I'm your host, Brian Heinesser. Joining me this evening, the man who believes that responding to listener feedback is somebody else's responsibility, Ian.
Hello, everybody.
And I'm sure that we'll get into that much later here, won't we, dumbass? And of course, also, the man who single-handedly moved the living place of sugar gliders to the Outback, Mac.
It wasn't easy, but, I had to carry a whole bunch of them in my arms, on my back, on my head.
Very good.
It was a nightmare.
Yep. And finally, our special guest this evening, whose sole purpose in life is to remove Kimberly's feminist title, dumbass.
Hello, Amateur Skeptics. How's it going?
It's going good. How are you doing?
Good. And I am going to get Kimberly disbarred from the feminist union if it's the last thing I do.
Very good.
She just got her new membership card in Blazers, so...
It's why she's not here, though. She's afraid of me.
You're the one who kind of gave her that title. It wasn't until she went on your show that she even decided she was a feminist. It was you.
Really?
Yeah. She'd never really associated herself with that title, and then after your show, she kind of at least that's how I remember it.
Maybe it was Rebecca O'Neill who had more of an influence on her.
It might have been. So anyway, so we have a dumbass or parrot, whichever you go by both.
Use whichever.
Yep. And now we have the pleasure of having a guest who has his very own media empire this evening.
That's right, the Dumbass Media Empire at dumbassmedia.info.
So what do you do there?
Well, essentially, I've got 3 podcasts that I run myself, and I'm looking to encourage new podcasters into skepticism to come in and do some stuff, and if they have no idea what they're doing, I can lend them some web space and set up their RSS feeds for them and help them get started, because I want the web to be, just overrun with skeptical podcasts.
No, do you care if are you concerned that that they have a niche, or are you okay with general skeptics podcasts?
General skeptics podcasts are fine. Niche work is always really good.
Right.
If you're doing something that other people haven't covered already, then you're adding a whole lot to the conversation, which I like a lot.
So your feeling is, do something. If you want to do a general one, go ahead and do it. Exactly. Because that's contrary to what and I'm trying to remember who. I can't remember his name now. He has the site about the harm of what's the harm.net?
What's the harm.net? Yeah. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
He also runs the SkepTools blog.
Right. And
yeah, he actually he's part of the reason that I'm doing this. I didn't hear him saying that there were too many. I heard him say, read him say that there are already there's more skeptical content than a single person can listen to, that can keep up with. And I'm personally okay with that, and I'd like to see it get bigger. I don't know if he's commented on exactly whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think that's a good thing, and I want to see it gain even more prominence. Yeah, no,
he is of the opinion that really people should be trying to come in with a niche. There's too many general skeptics podcasts, and I feel like you do. I've always made the case that, listen, get out there and do it. If you want to do it, go ahead. You may not get a lot of listeners. We had 2 until this week, and I think Kimberly may have scared off that other listener. So now we're down to 1, and it's okay.
Yeah, this kind of thing, you do it for fun, and just getting your thoughts out there is a worthwhile endeavor. But I will say that concentrating on niche stuff is absolutely wonderful. When I do the ancient alien stuff, not a lot of people have looked into it really in depth, and I get to, do a lot of research and find out stuff that other people just aren't talking about, and that's how my articles get up there in Google searches. And that's a wonderful thing if you can concentrate on some sort of little topic that other people are talking about. Then yeah, you should definitely go for it. But general stuff out there too. Give people a choice of things. If they like your style, you're probably not going to become hugely popular or anything, but just having a few dozen people listen to you is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I agree. And we have people who give us feedback occasionally. and I really appreciate that. On the other hand, I'm not necessarily doing it for the feedback. And I mean, it's nice, but I'm doing it because I want to do it. And having listeners is a great benefit of that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm with you. And the other thing is that until you start doing it, you can't specialize unless you come in with already specialized, right? If you're just getting into this, you might not have a specialty, but you want to have someone to get your voice out there, and that's okay.
Well, yeah, my podcast is my podcast is a general topics podcast. But I developed a specialty for going. I do things on ancient aliens, which is a very specialty topic. So I do that once in a while, but then I go back to more general stuff as well. And you can do both, and you can have specialty stuff that people who are looking for that will be very interested in. And I highly encourage people to do some specialty stuff, even if they do have a general topics podcast.
Yeah,
I'm really happy with the fact that our podcast, the Amateur Skeptics podcast, has been kind of a journey. And we've learned all the way through it.
Well, that is certainly one of the benefits that we've had, is that we've all kind of grown through doing it. All right, so let's move on. Kimberly did, of course, give us some announcements. June 15th.
Leftover.
What's that?
Let's see. Hopefully the podcast will be up in time for the first couple announcements to have relevance. But this weekend, June 15th, 16th, and 17th, is the Denver Comic Con. While that seems a skeptical thing, I will be there. It will be fun. It's our first Comic Con. And one of the things about this is this isn't associated with the big San Diego Comic Con. This is a different organization. And this organization does an after-school program where what they do is they work with grade school kids, and they do a 6-week program. It's completely, I can't think of the word suddenly, nonprofit. And what they do is in the 6-week course, the kids actually learn how to make their own comic book. And it's for grade school kids, nonprofit. It's really an awesome sounding program. I would love to have done something like that when I was that age. But when they're done, they have their own comic book. And so this is the first year they've done a Comic Con here in Denver. And the weird thing is they were founded here in Colorado. They're doing the Comic Con. It should be a blast. I'll be there, and it sounds like a good thing to be supporting. So.
All right. So that's Comic Con.
And
Skeptic Camp Fort Collins is coming up on June 16th.
Yep, this Saturday.
The Denver Museum of Nature and Science is having their Science of the Perfect Life is coming up. I don't know what HOC is. Grand Junction Mini Conference. And then, of course, the Atheist Alliance of America Conference is going to be here in Colorado, August 30th and September 3rd. So, what is it? Anyway, so
it might be Labor Day weekend.
Labor Day weekend, that's the one. Yeah, there was some complaints about that, but all right. So those were what's coming up. So we have some corrections. We got some feedback about show 52, the benefits of porn, and we had discussed.
We had briefly talked about sugar gliders.
Well, they came up. Yeah.
But anyways, apparently what we've learned is Australia. It's more than just Sydney, where they have the big Sydney Opera House and the Outback. There's actually more to Australia than that, believe it or not.
Yeah, apparently so they have other eucalyptus and other things that the sugar gliders actually live in. Mac?
The sugar gliders mainly live in the eastern areas of Australia, the eucalyptus forests, and they also live in Tasmania, Indonesia, and New Guinea, and the Bismarck Archipelago. And
what's funny about that is that you compare the outback to all of Texas as well. And Texas, of course, is quite varied.
It is?
Yeah.
I thought it was fictional.
Wait a minute. There's the Alamo, and there's a bunch of people with guns.
Well, they have mountains. All right. Texas, not just like the outback. That should be their slogan. All right. That being done and all taken care of. Now we can talk.
We're not going to use her name.
We're not?
Well, no, she asked me not to.
Oh, okay.
That's why, yeah. So now I have to edit that. Thank you.
Sorry.
We'll just bleep over it.
All right. So now we can finally talk about gay superheroes.
Yes.
Well, gay superheroes have been around for a while now, actually. both Marvel and DC have had gay superheroes. They've more or less been second-tier characters. You know, in the case of Marvel, the most famous who is the subject of this one is North Star, who was originally a member of Alpha Flight. He's also been a member of the X-Men, and apparently he's getting married. So, regretfully, this is not the first comic book gay marriage. That goes to RT Comics, which just a short while ago they had their first gay marriage in comics. So they actually claim that themselves. But they're the first gay superhero to get married. So, just pointing out that the comic book industry is being progressive and keeping up with what's going on in the world.
So, where is the ceremony being performed for North Star?
I'm not sure.
And exactly what state is Riverdale in where they also have this particular... It's a worthwhile question.
I don't know what state Riverdale is in. And my guess is North Star is getting married in Canada since he is Canadian.
Okay.
Well, now, they actually, is it Quebec that actually has some common law marriage issues? I guess that's different. Dumbass? Did we lose Dumbass?
No, I'm still here. I have no idea about the common law marriage situation in Quebec. I may be Canadian, but I don't have that much knowledge.
Okay, well, but you do. But is most of Canada accepts common law marriage, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Are we gonna make the Australian mistake with Canada too?
No. Because I know that Quebec is.
I've seen Southport. Canada has one road that connects the whole country. And they have the floppy heads.
All right.
Our heads, our mouths separate from the rest of our head when we talk. That's right.
All right. We'll skip that because there is some interesting stuff going on with Canada and common law marriage in Quebec, and that people aren't getting married. And there was a lawsuit by a woman. But does all of Canada have gay marriage? Do you know that?
I think we do. I'm not entirely sure.
Okay.
I know we at least have it here in Ontario.
Okay.
Apparently, Ian, you put an article in here also about the fact that DC is jumping on that bandwagon.
Yes, and I would let you do that since you had the follow-up to it.
No, go ahead and start it off. I've got questions about it. But
well, about the same time that Marvel was announcing that North Star was getting married, DC came out with very vague announcements saying that one of their main superheroes is going to be revealed to be gay. And for those of you who don't know, DC just did a whole revamp, reinventing every single title and kind of restarting the whole storyline, I think. And so I guess it makes sense as to why this would be a good time to switch the character around like that.
When the heck don't they revamp all their books?
Yeah. DC's notorious for doing that, admittedly, but they really throwed the hell out of this one.
Has there been a big stink about this? Does anybody care, really?
Well, my thought on this, they revealed who it was, which is that it's the Earth 2 Green Lantern, Alan Scott, and he's not related.
Earth 2, is that like an Earth on the other side of the sun or something?
Earth 2 is basically like their Golden Age Earth. That's where the Justice Society comes from. It's where, basically the 1940s superheroes are still around.
Wait, is it like an alternate universe?
Yeah, it's like an alternate. It's an alternate Earth essentially. Okay. And if you look at like a diagram of DC's, such as they put in some of their comic books, they show these endless Earths spreading out through the universe, each one on a slightly different wavelength. My question about this is that if Alan Scott, the Green Lantern of Earth 2, is going to be revealed as being gay, when are they going to do with this with a prominent DC character?
Well, see, that's the thing. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, they kind of said that they were doing it with a prominent character, weren't they? And turns out it's the character isn't so prominent.
Yeah,
maybe Warner Brothers needs a definition of the word prominent sent.
Everyone was predicting it to be Aquaman or Wonder Woman. Those are the two ones I kept hearing over and over again.
You know what? Wonder Woman makes a lot of sense because if you look at some of the original comic strips...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And she comes from an island of Amazon warrior women, so...
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense in that way.
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll know that we've achieved a good level of gay equality when a gay character in fiction doesn't become the news. When it's just, characteristic of some character and not the whole point of the discussion that everybody's talking about it.
Well, that was one of my problems with the show Glee. I really hated my wife won't let me criticize it anymore in front of her. But I disliked a lot of things about the show. But I really disliked the treat of a gay character because here's this character who is upset because everyone's, they bully him over being gay, yet he doesn't give you anything about himself except for the fact that he's gay. And it's been like, okay, be something more than gay?
Are you talking about Kurt?
I don't know.
I think
It's
you
a-
didn't
that's a
watch
good
the
point.
show if that's what you got from it, because there's a heck of a lot more to that character than just that he's gay. And the whole gay bullying stuff really actually happens later in the first season. We actually get to know that character in the first season. So, yeah.
You watch Glee?
Yes, I watch Glee. The singing and dancing is fabulous. And you can have my man
That's what I
card.
felt, at least seeing it, is, I guess Kurt, you said.
Kurt.
That I didn't see any depth to him. So.
Well, then you're wrong. You have failed.
I think that that's what Rowling was trying to achieve by, the fact of Dumbledore turning out to be gay is just simply another aspect of his character.
Excuse me?
Dumbledore, gay.
Yeah, she kind of, I guess she must have been serious. I kind of didn't know whether she was serious or not, because she just kind of said it in an offhand remark, but that could very well go that way, that, if, Dumbledore is gay, she didn't mention it, but, that's just, might be just, something else about his character that, you don't get to know. It's a behind the scenes thing.
Yeah. No, but in the case of Glee, Ian's wrong.
If you say so, I don't agree with you. I disliked all the characters. They all felt so one-dimensional, as if they had no depth to them. It drove me crazy every time I'd watch it.
I think this is because you have no soul.
I think we can agree with his. I think we can agree with his general point, though, that if the whole point of the character is that he or she is gay, then you don't want that to be the whole point.
No,
Right.
no, it really wasn't. And I think if that was the point of the character, that he wouldn't have won an Emmy in the set for his character for his portrayal of that character in the second season.
That's
I don't know. They gave it to what's her face for her role in Glee, and her role in Glee was
Who is
horrible.
what's her face?
Jane Lynch.
Actually, her character was pretty interesting and complex. But as far as what you said, Brian, about if that was all there was to it, he wouldn't have won an Emmy, I don't think one thing necessarily follows the other.
Well,
Emmy's a popularity
okay,
contest.
well, either way, I don't know. He did a good job playing that character, and there's a lot more to it. And I don't think that you've watched enough of it to say.
Yep.
We'll
Which
just,
is why-
leave it here with us disagreeing, I think.
Ian, when's your next day off?
Why?
Because Brian's going to bring over his autographed Glee DVDs.
Have you watched Glee?
Huh?
Have you watched Glee?
Me?
I've watched some of Glee.
Yeah, it's fun.
I haven't watched any Glee.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, you know what? Take my man card. I love the singing and dancing. So there. I love musicals too.
That's right. You lose a man card for that one.
That's right.
There's nothing wrong with musicals, but they have to have a story and good characters to them.
Like about cannibals. Cannibal the musical.
Okay, onwards.
Yeah, onwards. Yeah, I think we're done
Onward.
with gay
We
superheroes.
killed that
and-
subject.
yeah, we ran it into
Okay.
the ground. Let's see. Let's go on to. Oh, do we want
Next
to?
one's a follow-up.
Do you want to do the follow up? Let's do the follow up.
Yeah, let's do the follow-up because, it's good. We talked about in the past the testing of the neutrinos that looked like they moved faster than the speed of light. They've retested it, and a mistake was made. They've come out and said it, an error was made. The particles are not moving faster than the speed of light,
Okay, but
and that's science.
yeah, right. And they had found an issue with a fiber optic cable that they thought accounted for it. But here's the thing that gets me about this. Do you remember the whole discussion that Dale and I had on our Facebook about this?
Yeah, I think so.
Ugh. He's like, I couldn't imagine living in a world where the speed of light was, Have you talked to Dale about this? Have you reeled
No.
him in?
No, I pretty much let stuff like that fade away.
You just let it go, huh?
Well, I think I'm kind of with you on this because it seems to me like, if there was some sort of exception to the laws of the universe, some sort of new types of, physics beyond what we know that would allow particles in some sort of situations to move faster than the speed of light, that would be awesome.
It would be.
I agree.
And people who say, people say things like, oh, that would that would invalidate everything we know about physics. Well, no, it wouldn't. It wouldn't invalidate all that stuff. It would just be a new situation. It would be some sort of specialized situation. You'd have to figure out exactly how it works. And once you do, you'd have a whole bunch of new physics stuff that you understand more about the universe.
Oh no, I'm with you. But Dale's comment was more nebulous about, about rules in general, I guess.
But the outcome in this either way was going to be significant.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the thing, and that's how science works. They looked at it and said, okay, this is interesting. We have to retest. We have to go back. We have to check, because if this is true, this is awesome. If it's not true, we need to figure out what mistake we made and fix it.
Right.
And so, that's what they did. And, that's one of the things you got to love about science. They're not concrete. They see one thing. It's like, okay, we got to go back and make sure we didn't screw up. So. And
in this particular case, they did screw up.
Right. And that's fine, actually. That's part of science. You screw up.
Well, it was fine because they came out and said, these are our findings, help us.
Right.
Where NASA got into trouble, was overstating their findings.
Yeah, in the scientific community, you always want to state things, in as uncertain terms as possible.
Right. Which is, why, creationists and other, kind of dog on science, because they won't come out and just say it, because, they're so uncertain. All right. How about blood types?
How about
it?
And I wanted to, this I thought was really interesting. I had no idea that there were, that even prior to this article, that there were 30 blood types. And so blood types are identified by looking at proteins on the red blood cells. And they recently identified 2 new blood types, Junior and Langery. And these blood types are significant because they suspect that 50,000 Japanese people are this blood type, and we didn't know about it previously. And also, they found that it might have something to do with anti-cancer drug resistance. These 2 particular blood types, which I thought was interesting. What else? And the other thing about that was interesting about the article is that they stated that they thought that there could be another 10 to 15 rare blood types on top of this. Which I was pretty surprised because, I know, A, B, and O, and I know the negative and positive.
I know tired. That's a blood type.
Tired?
Yeah, the proteins on it just look like they're sleeping.
Sleeping? I don't, do you know your blood type? You must.
I'm pretty sure it's O.
O, positive or negative?
Depends on how I'm feeling.
Well, cause we
generally O positive, sometimes when I'm in a bad mood, O negative.
My blood type is always O negative. Always. And
I have no idea what my blood type is.
You don't, huh?
No. Maybe I should find out sometime.
Yeah, well, I think it's an important thing to know.
Would
if
it
you
be
ever
on my birth certificate?
I would think, unless you have one of these rare ones and you were misidentified.
Maybe I should. I've got my birth certificate around here somewhere. Maybe I should look at it and see the time.
Yeah.
I think that you can identify what type of blood you are by. It depends upon what shape the drops fall in. If you cut yourself, like circular drops are always O.
So if you have O negative blood, you are the universal donor. So anybody can take your blood. AB positive is a universal recipient. They can receive any blood.
Okay.
So there's a lot of interesting things about different blood types and stuff like that. It came up because
I had actually thought O positive was the universal donor.
So did my friend, because he was O positive. And I'm like, no, it's O negative. So we looked it up and verified it. It's O negative that is the universal donor. I'm pretty sure that I got that off of Wikipedia, so it must be correct.
Well, I have one important thing that I want to say about this. 32 types now. Suck it, Baskin Robbins.
Yeah, they better get on it. They're behind. So I found that interesting. It was a lot of fun. All right.
Let's skip in a few. Do we want to talk about the future now? The future? The true sign of the end of the world?
Yes. Well, the end of the world.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, of all the things that make me convinced that the end is finally coming, it's when Harold Camping comes out and says, listen, there's no way to predict the end of the world.
Whoops, my bad.
So, Harold Camping actually came out after, 3-4 failed predictions about the end of the world?
I think it was
It was at least 3, because there was the one, back several years ago. There was 2 this year.
I think there was one before that.
Or two last year.
Okay, there was one in the 90s, and then the last one was, he kind of predicted it twice. When it didn't happen the first time, he was like, oh, well, it's going to be in 3 months, because we were supposed to have the apocalypse, and then another 3 months, of hellfire and brimstone on Earth, and then it would be destroyed. Well, and that's when he said, well, we're all under judgment. And then when it didn't pass, that's when he comes back.
I think he predicted one like in the I want to say late 70s.
Oh, really?
I think he did. He had one earlier than the 90s.
Okay, I don't know. I remember that. I know about the one in the 90s, and then the one in the 2000s that failed.
But after the
never mind, guys.
What?
Just like,
What?
Yeah, that's pretty much his attitude, Dell. That's what he's saying. So, just thought that was amusing for him to actually come out and say that finally, and say, you know what, I don't believe you can predict it, and I don't think that's apologizing for screwing people over with it, because they actually did mess up people's lives.
He's not apologizing for screwing people over. He is asking forgiveness for his sin against God by predicting Judgment Day. So he doesn't care about the people.
You know,
He's more concerned with his standing in the hereafter.
My favorite website, endtimes.com, says that it's coming and we can know. And since it's my favorite site, it must be right.
Well, like I said, to me, it's fine. It is coming, finally. I mean, if Joe can't be saying it's no longer happening, we're doomed.
Yeah,
it's that simple.
Just people realize Jesus is coming. Look busy.
No news is good news. All right. I want to talk about the comic.
Converge.
Yes.
The intelligent design coloring book. I actually fell for it for a few seconds, I clicked on it to see the thing, and I saw the first one, and I was laughing out loud, but then I realized, I've been poed.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's this comic, that basically was humorously designed as an intelligent design coloring book to give the children, to basically rebut, penetrating theoretical terror. But what is so great, so there's this picture, and it's these, two boys and then a girl in between them at the beach. And
Carrie is doing the intelligent designer's work. Using her breast, she attempts to distract Matt from looking at Michael. Breasts can be used for good or evil. When they're used to foil homosexual activity, it pleases the intelligent designer. To celebrate her success, color her bathing suit pink because she's a girl, and Matt and Michael bathing suits blue because they're boys. No instructions on the umbrella or the beach.
No, those are okay. But at least we know what to do with breasts now.
Yes.
Because I was so confused.
Yeah, he's looking at another man. Send in the breast.
That's right, send in the breast. So the next one is, that monkeys and people are different. But what's funny is that, these are clearly apes and humans. And it says, see the differences?
Oh, yeah.
And there are no
humans
differences.
are wearing clothes.
Yeah, that's the only difference. Humans are wearing clothes.
And in the previous page, it looks like they're just a bunch of damn dirty apes, with apologies to Charlton Heston.
Well, but they're both stoning somebody to death.
Well, yeah.
So, but Dumbass found a better one.
Yeah, the Converts document. I started following these guys a few months ago on Twitter, and I've seen a few of their things, and they've got some pretty funny. This concept is, of course, it's a documentary talking to these Christians who have a bunch of really weird ideas, and of course it's the same thing. It's kind of a fake thing. But I've actually talked to one of the guys who runs it, and he tells me that they take most of their quotes from actual things that Christians have said.
That's excellent. This video was absolutely hilarious. All these clips of creations. It was pretty funny. So I haven't watched any episodes yet. I will definitely be doing that. That is good stuff. All right. None of these really have much meat to them. Do we have a good story?
Well, we could always talk about the beat your gay kids pastor.
I thought we talked
Yeah,
about
well, see that we have a lot of stuff that we can go off of. If you want to jump to that.
Jump to one that...
We've got the...
hold on. Dumbass, which one?
Well, I've got some stuff to say about church group and the fake raid.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about that.
All right. Basically, what happened here was that this church group, in order to demonstrate religious persecution and what that looks like, kidnapped a bunch of guests to the church. They were basically there as guests of the youth group, and they kidnapped these kids, threw them in the back of a van. I believe they restrained them, and took them to the pastor's house where they got to witness the pastor being beaten and abused. Before the whole thing was revealed as being, no, it was all a setup. This was just a illustrative thing. We're the youth group.
I don't know how this could possibly be legal.
I don't know how this could possibly be thought of as a good idea.
Hey, kid, you know there's a lot of people suffering from things like cancer, and their treatments cause them to become extremely nauseated and vomit. In order to help you empathize with them, I've laced the drinks you've just consumed with Ipecac. You should begin vomiting momentarily.
That sounds like logic here.
Yeah, that's
the gun used by the officer in the fake raid was unloaded but real.
Oh, that is...
An off-duty police officer acted as one of the 2 kidnappers who raided the Wednesday night meeting.
But you look at the defense, the church officials are trying to lie, so they had fun.
Yeah, they were laughing.
Yeah, they were laughing, and I can't really confirm that, but that's what I heard from friends of hers. It's like, dude, seriously.
Is there any follow-up on this? Is anybody being sued? Is this being looked at in any way?
As far as I know, they're looking at filing criminal charges.
And there appears to be an investigation here, according to this article that you've got.
Okay.
And it's been, 2 months now, it looks like? So, it could be a while.
It seems to me that the only difference between what these guys did and what happens to persecuting Christians is that these kids got the chance to go home at the end of the day. Other than that, it's exactly the same experience and exactly the same level of wrong as when it's done to Christians in other countries.
Which makes it okay to do to them so that they empathize with these other Christians.
Yeah, let's screw you up for life so you know what it's like for these other people that are screwed up for life. Nightmares aren't a great thing to have nightmares like that to not trust anyone. You'll be sitting alone in a room and suddenly be freaked out because you think you're about to be assaulted. Yeah, that's you need to learn how to feel like that.
It's like they're punishing these children for something that's happening that other people are doing to other Christians.
It's like inducing people to actually have shell shock or post-traumatic stress disorder to show them what it's like to have post-traumatic stress disorder.
Right.
Let's tie you down and fire bullets at you for about an hour or so, and that way you'll know exactly what our military feels like.
You know, there's something to be said for walking in somebody else's shoes, but this is not the way to do it.
Mm.
Right.
Ellen DeGeneres has a bit in one of her old comedy routines where she said that she was sold to a tribe of Indians when she was a little girl, and she learned their ways, became part of the tribe, had several children, and one day, years later, her family came back and said, "Just kidding," and everybody in the tribe was an actor and was in on the joke, yes. And they all laughed and laughed. And that's a funny joke because it's an absolutely ridiculous story. In real life, you just don't get to do something with those kinds of serious implications and then jump out at the end and say, "Just kidding."
So I'm in the kitchen, and in the kitchen was my dad, my mom, all my brothers and sisters just standing there staring at me, about to start laughing. I'm like, what? Because I was 7. And so my dad said, "Ellen, honey, we've never liked you as well as the other children, so we've sold you to a tribe of Iroquois Indians. They'll be here to pick you up in about an hour. We're going to go to the Ice Capades. Bye-bye. Good luck." I was 7. So I lived in the Origines Mountains for about 9 years with the Iroquois, learning basket weaving and pottery making, and I taught them that noise you make under the arm like that. That was a skill I had. And it was customary to marry within the tribe at 13 and have several papooses, which I did. And Tuku were their names. And anyway, 9 years later, here comes trudging up the mountains my dad, my mom, all my brothers and sisters carrying a big thing of lemonade. Of course, we didn't recognize them. We're shooting them with bows and arrows and everything, but they get up to the top. "We're just kidding. We love you. You're ours. Come on home." And we went home and laughed and laughed and laughed.
Yeah.
That's like I don't remember what comedian I was watching, but he was talking about how he started hearing Satan's voice and Satan told him to do all these terrible atrocities, and I almost had his name for a second. But anyway, he said, and at the end of it, Satan's voice says, "Hey, just kidding, it's me, Bob." You got me. He's hacked up his entire ham family in there in a duffel bag.
Isn't there a horror movie that's basically like that? A bunch of kids go to camp and they're being abducted one by one, and then as they get killed, essentially they become part of the gag.
It does sound a little familiar.
Yeah. All right. So kidnapping kids to impress on them that other people are being repressed. Bad idea.
Yeah, if it's a federal offense, if it is a federal level felony, it's probably not a real good idea.
Don't you think that?
You can weave a good story to kids. You can, make it sound very visceral, explain it in great detail. You can do that kind of thing.
Don't you think that churches that do this kind of stuff should lose their tax exemption?
Well, churches in general should lose their tax
Well,
exemption.
okay. But if you need a reason.
I have to say, Brian, I think that's probably maybe a little tasteless. We're talking about felonies here. We're talking about people who have done things that should be essentially unthinkable, and they've done it in the name of, well, we're pretty sure we're right about this.
All right.
Right.
And that's, I hope that they end up putting some people in jail about this.
Yeah, I wonder if that'll actually
so they can be
happen,
persecuted.
I am, I don't know if that's actually going to happen. That'll be interesting if we can find any follow-up about it. I suspect it'll be hard to find any follow-up about this situation.
Okay, so I guess we're done on that one?
I think so.
Let's talk about Jesse Lee Peterson.
Let's do that.
All right.
Oh, yeah. So this is the, Jesse Lee Peterson is a preacher, and I don't know exactly where he was from. Does it say? It's in the South somewhere.
He was from, Hazard County, I believe.
Hazard County. So
he was the uncle to, or is that a different Jesse?
Yeah, so he was invited by Fox News, and I guess this is, the Bond is a Hannity. He's part of the board. So, Sean Hannity is part of the board of Bond. And they invited this guy to come and talk. And he gets on there. And the first thing he says is, that, he's, he wants to say goodbye to America. The America that he that he knows is gone. And he gets on there and he starts just attacking women specifically, because women are taking over. And this is the problem. Women, and he says, I absolutely know for a fact that women cannot handle power. and he says, back in the
He knows that for a fact.
He knows that for a fact. And back in the biblical days, men, they weren't scared to put women in their place, basically, is what this guy says. And he says, our first mistake was giving women the right to vote. And
I have a weird feeling that when he got back from that conference, his wife beat the shit out of him.
Well, but here's what I'm thinking.
She's probably about 1.5 feet taller
right.
than him.
But here's a black man saying that we shouldn't have given women the right to vote. But maybe, what if we hadn't given black men the right to vote?
Well, that's one thing too, because I notice his direct quote here. He said, we should have never turned that over to women. There are more women out there voting than men now, and these women are voting in the wrong people. They're voting in people who are evil, who agree with them, who are going to take us down this pathway of destruction. So, as I understand his argument, we shouldn't have let women vote because they don't vote the way he wants them to vote, which I'm assuming is Republican.
Right, and he says that women are voting with people that agree with them instead of what is right.
Right. And as I understand him, voting Democrat is evil. So his main principle would be that any group that tends to vote for evil, as in Democrat, should not be allowed the opportunity to vote. And I think that's the natural progression of his line of thinking. I'm not mischaracterizing his position, right?
I don't think so. And
it sounds like you're characterizing his position pretty clearly.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, well, I got to thinking that black people tend to overwhelmingly vote for Democrats. Right.
Yes.
I would really like to see Mr. Peterson make the case that black people should never have gotten to vote. His own logic dictates that this should be his position, so I dare Mr. Peterson to hold true to his own ideals and publicly declare that allowing black people to vote was a mistake.
But based on what he's saying, no man...
Apparently, wait, a little further down in the article, in 2009, he said he thought 96% of black voters were racist toward whites. And in January, he said he would send black people back to plantation. So that they would understand the ethic of working. I'm quoting from the article. From the article. And presumably, at least as my understanding follows, from his own... from God's mouth to his ears to his mouth. This is the way it goes.
So yeah, he shouldn't have any problem making that statement. I'd like to hear him say that allowing black people to vote was a mistake, right?
It sounds like he's on that road already.
Yeah.
It doesn't say that he would necessarily. It doesn't say he would necessarily take the vote. He just wants them to get the ethic of working by working on the plantation.
I don't know. Maybe he thinks that black men are capable, if they work on the plantation, of getting better, but women aren't. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. But, I mean, this whole kind of thing sets back feminism, and it sets it back years. I mean, this kind of mentality is...
It sets back thinking thousands.
Yeah. Civil rights, feminism, humanitarianism. I mean, so it's wrong to vote my conscience if it isn't his vote.
That's what he's saying.
Yep. Lovely gentleman.
That's pretty much an insult to the idea of democracy.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
So, but I mean, it's interesting, you know, Peterson has been a regular guest on Sean Hannity's Fox News Today, talk show. Hannity serves on the Bond Advisory Board.
Bond Advisory Board?
Yeah, yes, Bond.
I think they choose who plays Bond next.
Okay, well, I don't know what that's about, but yeah,
Bond, rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. What? Yeah.
No.
I guess it's one of those traditional gender role type of things. Men have become so weak these days.
Yes. Well, yeah. They're letting women take over. They're not putting women in their place. And, you know, the Bible tells us how to treat women.
I really should be beating my wife.
It's exactly. If you're not beating your wife, you're not doing her any favors.
Well, I haven't stoned my kids yet for talking back to me.
Well, yeah, you've got to stone them. And getting a new wife is pretty easy. You go rape a woman, then you pay her father, $50, whatever.
Well, 3 goats and a cow, I think.
3 goats and a cow, it could be.
Deal, I'll take it.
That's
where
am I going to get 3 goats and a cow in the city?
Hey, well then.
Wait. What if you want to marry 3 goats and a cow?
Oh no, that is definitely wrong. Yeah, I think Leviticus covers that, but
no payment that you can make to 3 goats and a cow.
I don't know. Do you have to give a woman to the cow's father?
Maybe. I don't know.
That sounds like bull to me.
You know, our society is so screwed up. A guy can cook up a goat, eat it, he's called a gourmet, but fall in love with that very same goat.
And I've never verified this, so it's an anecdote that in what's that state right up above us there? Wyoming? There is a law about how high a man's boots can be because they didn't want to break the sheep's legs. I heard that. I have not verified it.
Where man are man and sheep are nervous.
Yes.
I'm not sure I completely understand that one.
They are having sexual congress with the sheep.
Yeah, I understand that that's the implication.
And I guess,
what does that have to do with boots?
Well, I guess if the legs get caught in the man's boots, it could break them. That was my understanding.
I'm not sure exactly how that would work.
I think you're going to have to to that one.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to have to get me a pair of boots. and a sheep. Because this requires that kind of research.
Want to borrow mine?
Your boots or your sheep?
My sheep. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Wow. All right. All right, Ian, pick one.
Well, we'll go to... Yeah, they got a bunch. That sounds like good one. Okay, how about, and what the fuck are they thinking? Abortion causes breast cancer.
Oh, yes.
This is one of those things that shows just how desperate the conservatives are getting right now in this country, and just how little they're worried about facts in order to get their way, and this is one of those things that just gets you to no end. In New Hampshire, the Congress actually put out a bill, and it passed, and basically it's an anti-abortion bill trying to discourage abortion. One of the things they put within the bill is that doctors are supposed to tell women looking for abortions that abortion causes breast cancer.
Yeah. And, there is a line of reasoning that one could use to prove that, yes, abortion does cause breast cancer, but it's not a good solid line of reasoning.
Well, what it is that women who have had children and I guess, I don't know if they have to breastfeed or not, but have a statistically lower rate of breast cancer. But that does not correlate to having an abortion causes breast cancer.
Right, and that's the thing. There's nothing, not a single bit of evidence to back this up. But they don't care.
You can't just legislate what the science says. I mean, it's the scientific community, and you've got to listen to the scientists. You can't just make up your own mind and say, okay, this is the way it's going to be. We're going to put it into law.
Sure, you can. It's fear mongering.
But that's what they're doing. Yeah,
it's pure fear mongering.
Or you shouldn't be able to, is what I'm saying. Of course, you can.
Yeah. And that's the thing. They shouldn't, but they're doing it anyway. They don't care. They're making sure that doctors are lying to their patients. That's exactly what they're doing. I think the article even refers to it that way.
They're voting on the sex of a cat.
Yeah, they basically just said, listen, we don't care what the hell about, any of this integrity crap. You're a doctor, and now you have to lie to your patients. And that's all there is to it. It's like, wow.
Yeah, and there's been some other incidences where doctors have lied to their patients, and that was found to be okay regarding, women's issues. And I think it had to do with ultrasounds and the condition of the baby. There's been some other issues regarding this, and clearly I don't have that story in front of me.
Right, because your own medical decisions aren't up to you.
No.
You shouldn't be given the proper information to make your decision on your own. We need to lie to you.
I don't understand why the Republicans have chosen. I mean, it's not just abortion. They've chosen right now birth control in general, which has been a settled issue. I mean,
and we heard the whole Newt Gingrich thing, where he was calling the one woman that testified a slut and stuff. And if you listen to what Newt Gingrich said, I don't think he listened to her testimony at all, because her testimony had nothing to do with herself. Her testimony was she is the head of the women's health or whatever for the Catholic school she goes to, Catholic college. And she has had several women come to her and say, listen, we're having problems because we can't get birth control pills that we need to regulate our periods and to prevent us from having cysts form on our ovaries and other life-threatening illnesses. And these women have had serious, dire complications due to not getting the birth control pills. It has nothing to do with sex, has nothing to do with keeping themselves from getting pregnant, everything to do with making sure they are healthy as can be.
I think
since birth control pills are essentially bundles of hormones.
Right. Yeah. And right. I can empathize with that too, because my wife needs to take birth controls for exactly that reason, to regulate her cycle. And she'd before she got them, she was kind of in a lot of pain because her cycle was getting irregular and doing some stuff, and the kind of thing, you've got to consider all the medical implications of this, and women should be able to get this kind of medicine that they need.
Yeah. I think that was Limbaugh that said that. Rush Limbaugh.
Rush Limbaugh. I get those two mixed up. They're both fat ass balls of hot air.
Yes. But he, not only that, he went as far as to say that we should give them their birth control, and when they have sex, they should make sex tapes and distribute them.
And like I said, everything he said to me, he listened like 5 seconds of that testimony and decided it was her wanting to get birth control for herself so she could be a slut. And it's like there was nothing even close to suggesting a single bit of what he claimed.
If you're talking Limbaugh's a shock jock.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. His whole thing is to get people riled up so that they listen to him, and so, they basically listen to his sponsor commercials.
It does concern me, though, that he would encourage these women to be making these sex tapes, because quite frankly, there is already enough amateur porn out there, and I don't really need more.
Oh, I need more.
You do? Amateur porn?
I like amateur porn. I want to see it all.
Really? I like the professional porn myself. I like it touched up. I like the acting quality of the professional porn.
Oh yeah, their acting quality is so
Brian,
They are top-notch
you can admit
actors.
it. You can admit it on the podcast. What you really like is the Harry, Bob, and Man ass.
So apparently, China, the former wrestler who tried to be a real actress, is now a porn star.
Who is that?
So China, she was, I guess, a wrestler, and then she tried her bit as a real actress. Didn't last long, and she's a porn star now. Apparently, in the Avengers porn parody, she plays She-Hulk, which seems very fitting.
All right. Well, I guess Octomom did some taste of erotica, too.
Yeah. Well, we can help. Basically, what it comes down to here is that if Rush Limbaugh needs help finding porn, we can help him.
Yep.
I mean, it's pretty easy.
He doesn't need to go after college students who are just trying to be healthy and decide he wants to see them do porn.
No.
There's enough people out there doing the porn that, he should be able to find something to please himself.
I just don't know what Oxycontin porn looks like.
I've got a site I can show you.
Okay. Excellent. Well, I think I know that we're a little short here. Is there anything else we want to cover?
Well, looking at two down, since we're talking about conservatives being stupid, we can talk about the abstinence-only bill. That seems like it's somewhat on the same topic anyways.
Okay.
Because, we've talked about how abstinence-only does not work. It is not good sex education because it actually is not sexual education. But apparently in Utah, they passed abstinence-only sex ed bill that actually prohibits the talk of homosexuality in classrooms. So not only are they trying to deny that birth control and all that and say just don't have sex, but they're also trying to pretend that homosexuality has nothing to do with sex as well. And it's amazing that they are litigating education to this level. They're saying the teachers are not allowed to actually teach anything. It's such a huge step backwards. And it's interesting what we're just talking about. It's trying to litigate out facts and science and all that, and just say, we're going to decide how to rewrite it all.
Actually, what I'm seeing here on this is the bill lifts the current requirement that all public schools must teach sex ed in grades 8 through 12. Districts would decide whether to offer sex ed classes to teach an abstinence-only curriculum or not offer the course at all. So they don't force them to teach abstinence only. That's just the only thing they can teach if they're going to teach a sex ed course.
Well, basically, let's tie the teacher's hands and say, listen, you want to teach them something, you're not allowed to teach them facts and practical thinking, anything of value. You instead have to teach this form of education that has been proven time and time again to not work. And you have to leave out huge gaps of facts.
Tying the teacher's hands is a different form of sex education.
Regardless,
not an unpopular one.
There's some issues though, because if they aren't being taught this stuff in school, then you have to do it at home. And now you're relying on the parent to be up to date on what, the latest about STDs, and different types of contraceptions. I mean, I have a banana and a condom. I can cover that with them. But I'm not sure that I can adequately cover everything that I would expect a sex educator to know.
Right.
Yeah, you'd want to have some sort of health professional giving out these kinds of facts, I think.
I think so too.
Like ideally.
Well, yeah, but the problem is that if they are choosing to not do that, and if their sex education that they are giving is not comprehensive, is there a point?
No, that's the thing. There isn't any. And
how many lessons does it take to say don't do it?
Yeah.
Don't do it. End of class. See you later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it says,
they probably have a talk with him like, you might get these urges, but you should try to ignore them.
That's right. Until
that's like what it's saying, because teachers would be barred from talking about homosexuality even if asked by a student. So even if the students are asking them questions about this stuff, they have to deny it, saying, no, we can't talk about that because you're not allowed to have education on anything. Apparently you got to go out in the streets and learn it from your friends.
Right. And where are your friends learning it from? I mean, because what I've taught my kids is that mommy and daddy do it, so it's disgusting.
Well, there is some good news about homosexuality in schools, at least here in Ontario. I was talking about this, yesterday I recorded an episode of my Invisible Sky Monster podcast, and that should be coming out in the next few days. But in Ontario, there's this anti-bullying bill about students forming gay-straight alliances in school, allowing them to use the name Gay-Straight Alliance, although, they're coming under fire. Some Catholic groups running Catholic schools here in Ontario don't want to allow the students to use the name Gay Straight Alliance. But it looks like most of the support is towards getting that put through, and that will be pretty nice.
Isn't that just going to make more gay kids? Aren't you concerned?
No. Gay kids only come from gay parents. Didn't we determine that already?
Right, because we're going to put it, because we're going to lock all the gays and lesbians and queers. Yeah, in a fence, yeah.
Separate fences for each one.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, because you can't have them mingling, because then there's a chance that they'll, repent.
Yeah, somebody might fall on somebody else.
Well, one thing I found interesting, and I've commented on this, but one thing I found interesting, reading another article about this same topic, that the gay bashing that goes on in high school, and the amount of anti-gay sentiment, like for example, it's now common for kids to if a guy says something nice about another guy, he ends the sentence with "no homo."
Wow.
I find that really weird, 'cause...
Yeah, well, I know my oldest son, just had some bullying this year from this one kid that kept calling him gay constantly. And
was that this year?
By the way, you guys are great. No homo.
Yeah, thanks. It's a bromance.
This last year, Quinn was having a lot of problems with a bigger kid calling him gay and putting him down and saying he was queer. Apparently even claiming that he'd been by our house and seen him make it out with a guy. It was disturbing stuff, and it to me it doesn't matter one way or the other, but it was obviously upsetting my son, as the kids were making fun of him along with him.
Yeah.
So
I've seen your house. There's not room to make out with a guy in there.
What we've got to work towards is a society where words like gay and homo aren't pejorative terms.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, see, that's one of the things. I was trying to figure out how to present it to my son. It's like, I can't necessarily say, well, it doesn't matter to me one way or the other. You just shouldn't take it personally. But that doesn't quite work at that level where if, other kids are getting in their heads to call you that, I don't like the idea of it being an insult.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of it being an insult either, but clearly, Quinn was picking up on the fact that it was intended to be an insult.
Yeah,
and he took it that way.
Right.
And, it's so hard to talk to a 12-year-old and explain to him some of that stuff. Like, if you are, I don't care. There's nothing wrong with it. But, and that definitely wouldn't come out right with him. And so, we tried to get him to understand, just ignore it and not, worry about it, but it bothered him greatly. And, it's such a hard thing to talk about, saying, it's not really an insult because it doesn't matter. It still matters.
Yeah. Are they going to a new school next year, though?
Yeah, they'll be joining your girls.
Very good.
All our kids will be at the open school now.
Nice. That's a place where that kind of stuff isn't tolerated, and
we understand.
When that kind of stuff happens, there are meetings and there are discussions, and people sit down and talk about why this shouldn't be happening, and they get everybody together to have these conversations, the parents and the kids, and.
That's what we were trying to have happen, but the kid is like, the best way I can describe it is he's like the perfect Eddie Haskell character. Around the adults and stuff, he is charming, they love him, they think he's so polite and stuff, but as soon as the adults are out of the way, he's a complete total asshole. And that's what was happening. And so the teacher actually believed him. The kid would say, I'm not doing anything like that, and the teacher fell for it. And so it took us until this kid did the dumbest thing. He Facebooked Quinn. Because they have a Facebook account. He sent Quinn a Facebook saying, "What the fuck is your problem, you fucking faggot?" I was like, wait a minute, we actually have something he can't deny having done.
Very good. All right, well, good. Yeah. So I think that we've gone long enough, but there is one thing that I did want to talk about. A certain podcast was going through the list of friends of their podcast, and he even went as far as to list people who don't listen to his podcast, and it suggests that people not listen to their podcast as well. And what I found odd about this particular situation is that I actually listened to this unnamed person's podcasts. Does that unnamed person want to have something to say for himself?
I can't believe somebody would actually do something like that and not mention you. Terrible, terrible podcaster. Bastard. If I ever see him, I'll beat him up.
That would be appreciated, Parrot.
Is this because I slapped him with a tuna?
Look, I have to. I am very sorry. I have to apologize. It was a thing where, I know that most other people. I'm friends with a lot of podcasters that I've invited on my show and stuff, and I know that most of them don't listen to me. And I was going through a list of a few that I know listen to my show, and I just forgot about you. I am very sorry. I will make it up to you.
All right.
Isn't that like an Atlantean villain from Marvel Comics?
A gay one.
Now, I know that you
Sorry,
listen
that was a
to me,
Tuma. Never mind.
Oh.
I know that you listen to me, Brian. How much do you listen to me, Sean?
I've listened to several of your earlier podcasts. I kind of take a bunch of podcasts at one time and put them on a disc, and I listen to them when I'm heading off on a car trip across town.
I see.
And
see, I don't know what anybody else on the podcast, how often they listen to me. Brian, I know you listen to.
I listen to a couple. I'm not good at listening to podcasts. So.
And he's also not good at responding to feedback.
Yeah, I'm decent if I feel the need to.
I'm sorry, what was that?
He says
if I feel the need to. I responded to Dumbass here, and I responded to our listener from Australia when it looked like I needed to.
All right.
You responded to me one time when I was talking about Weird Al, and we didn't seem to continue the conversation very much.
And also, I watched the video podcast that you did, and that is quite humorous.
Well, thank you.
No homo, though.
Yeah, right. No homo. Yeah.
And I did watch your review of the Green Lantern animated show.
That's, yeah.
I watched that, too. I got a
I
kick
just
out of
haven't
that.
replied about that.
This is the, this is the straight Green Lantern, not the Green Lantern.
Yeah, this is Hal Jordan.
Right.
This is the straight asshole Green Lantern.
The only thing that was missing from your review of the Hal Jordan Green Lantern cartoon was Bow Chicka Wow Wow.
That's a fun series. They've had like 13 episodes in the first season. I hope there's going to be another season, but it's got a lot to make fun of in it because it's a lot of just a lot of little things like the stuff that was in that very first episode to make fun of. And I'm looking forward to going through the rest of it and, finding other stuff in other series and stuff to make fun of as well.
Red Lantern makeup sex.
All right. So tell them where they can find you again.
Well, I'm at, if you want to see all of the podcasts under the Dumbass Media Empire, you can go to dumbassmedia.info. If you want my podcast, The Dumbass's Guide to Knowledge, is at, dumbassguide.info. And the Invisible Sky Monster podcast, which both you, Brian, and you, Sean, have been on, is at invisibleskymonster.com.
And Ian knows why he hasn't been on there.
Yes.
Yes, or do you?
That's the problem we talked about already.
Yeah.
I don't respond good to. I know. I'm bad.
Do you want to be on my podcast, Ian?
I'm all for it.
Well, we need to get his sound. We need to get his audio equipment fixed first.
Yeah, you're right. As soon as you get your audio equipment, maybe send me a message, and I'll see what we can work out.
Yeah, because he has standards.
Yep, which is something we don't have on this podcast.
No standards.
No homo.
To be fair, my standards are low.
Of course, you've been having the rest of us on the podcast, and you're willing to have me on, so.
All right. Is there anything else, or are we done here?
I think we've driven this one into the ground.
I think so too.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, hey, it was great having
Thanks
you.
for joining us tonight.
All right, say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Suck it, Baskin Robbins.
Thank you for listening to the Amateur Skeptics podcast. For more information about the Amateur Skeptics, go to amateurskeptics.com. To send us feedback, suggestions, or big flaming insults, feel free to contact us at WTF@amateurskeptics.com. Other contact information can be found on our website.
You can leave a voicemail for the Amateur Skeptics podcast at 720-295-7785. Music for this podcast was provided by OFM. To find out more about OFM, go to myspace.com/OFMHQ. This podcast is released under a Creative Commons, No Derivatives 3.5 license. Thank you for listening to the Amateur Skeptics podcast.
Amateur Skeptics website, Facebook, and podcast album art is provided by and copyright Shadow Knight Digital Portraiture. Larger prints or custom pieces are available upon request.